Welcome back. So in this chapter we're going to talk about a little bit about chucks, different holding methods, resets, tenon, and chuck parts, what to look for in a quality chuck, and some of the accessories that go with them. So I'll bring you in a little bit closer. Let's talk about first the holding method for the cross grain work. Now this is what you would call like a homemade screw chuck. It's on a faceplate, so I don't usually use a faceplate on bowls or platters. I like the simplicity and the fast approach of the screw chuck. This is based on Richard Raffin, so just a screw. This is old particle board screw, and it has a nice deep thread and nice backing here, and I have it for maybe a year now. Works great, and it's nice, simple to make, and just buy like these face plates. You can buy it quite cheaply, and this one actually is from my old lathe. So this is the baby chuck, same version. This one actually fits into my scroll chuck for a smaller work, and usually this is the accessory that we all get with one of these chucks, and that's wood worm screw, and that one pops in there. And now usually with these you have a smaller backing here, so let me just put this screw in. Okay, so with these screws, this woodworm screw, there's nothing wrong with them, but you have a small area of contact here behind. Now Richard Raffin actually has a nice video where he makes backing plate for this. So you put something looks like a donut, let's say, that fits over the chuck slightly above this area height of this, and now you have much larger, similar to this backing plate, which is quite important. The bigger this backing plate is, you can have a smaller screw that goes into the wood. So this grips and gives you much needed support and grip for the bowls. Now these two are what they call scroll chucks. So there is a mechanism inside. It's usually on a spiral, and you have some, I'm not sure how you call these, like scrolls, I guess. Which with this key you turn it and they open and close the jaws. These are the best thing you can buy for your lathe. Now, when I started turning bowls, I bought one of these. In my older videos, some of you that watch those videos know it's a different type of chuck. This is SC4, and my older one was AC3. Now when I bought this new lathe, I got this chuck, and I sold my SC3 chuck. Now I was a little bit hesitate to sell it, because the more chucks you have and more jaws, it's much simpler in work and faster. But eventually I want to get either Stronghold, one way, or Wickmark chucks, which is this one. This is Wickmark Australia chuck, and to me, in my opinion, this is the best wood turning chuck you can buy. It's solid, it has a positive grip. You know what you feel how you tighten, you feel how you loosen. It's really intuitive, and I really like their jaws design, and it's really quality piece of equipment. So and they are not that much expensive from let's say just the chuck body. I think Simon Hope in UK sell these. I will have to look up the price, but up to 200 euro, and the chuck body for record power is maybe 50 euros less, something like that. It's not massive difference, but quality of this one is, it's just superior, and you'll see what I mean in a minute when I talk the difference between the two. So if you're buying your first chuck, most likely you'll get something like a Nova chuck or a record power one. That's usually what the beginners buy first, and there's nothing wrong with them. Now there are a few things about them that I wish it's different, it's better, I guess, and that goes with jaws design. Now I believe the Nova as well has these jaws because they are interchangeable, and one way has also some of the weird jaws like serrated, and you don't need that. You don't need anything that like protrudes into the wood, like serrated jaws or anything like that, to help you get better grip. These jaws from Record Power and Nova has this sort of a, try to open it so maybe you'll get to see it better. Try to, can you maybe see at the jaw tip, it's not straight, it has sort of a beak, bird's beak on the inside lip here. And okay, so they stated that that beak helps you with the grip, which in my opinion it does nothing. You don't need like serrated jaws or this beak on the inside or anything other than a simple dovetail to have your grip on the ball suitable. My recommendation for buying your first chuck is to buy the best brand that you can afford. Now, there's nothing wrong with the Record Power, Nova, or Axminster, Sorby, but my recommendation is for either Wickmark or a one-way. And it's come down on Wickmark. It's all down to quality, the travel, which is to me quite important. And on the one way as well, and on this I'll show you actually what I mean by travel. So my older chuck SC3 is 90 mil diameter chuck, and it had the travel, so you can open up the jaws and grip, let's say from 40 mil diameter to 60 mil diameter, so that's 20 mil travel with that chuck, and that chuck is 90 mil. This one SC4 is 100 mil diameter, and it can grip the same, which is to me potential lost, because same dimension chuck Wickmark has 40 mil travel. Okay, so I can grip from Tenon, let's say from from 80 mil up to somewhere around almost 120 mil, sorry. And even more if I remove the safety pin, which is here. I could then bring out the jaws even more, but then I could risk if they fall out, which is not worth it. So this is plenty enough, and these jaws are perfect dovetail, nice crisp corners, not sharp, just enough soften so they are like crisp but not sharp, and these work excellent. Now Record Power has Record Power has jaws like these as well, and one way has serrated jaws, which to my mind it's pointless, and also like these smooth jaws. So they all have that option, but like I said, this has travel almost 40 mil, almost double the size of this, and it's same size chuck. So one way has also around 40 mil travel, the bigger one, the Stronghold, I believe, and they have nice sort of range of jaws as well, and long nose as well. Like I said, this isn't bad chuck, it's similar to Nova chuck, they both work great. Just know, you just have to know their limitation and work around these beak, let's say. Now I have I know how to work around these, but simple dovetail jaws without any interference would be just simple and greater, I guess, and I believe even less in terms of manufacturing. So I don't find these superior in any means. Now the outside is okay, it does have a little bit more of a rounded over edge, but nothing too major, and for a recess it's okay. Now I'll pop the piece of wood onto a lathe, and we'll talk about more about the tenon and the recess and the benefits of both of them. So a tenon or a foot or a recess. Now I believe that the debate is quite long as the chicken or an egg. So I stopped making recesses like 3-4 years ago. I only make recess at the early beginnings of making bows, and as soon as I realized how the foot is much more convenient and safer eventually, I never had tenon failure where I had a recess like exposed a crack I didn't see on a bowl, where you expand the jaws into the wood and potentially risk it to split it, especially if it's a tin bowl or some woods that are actually notorious for be brittle. So this is one of my first bowls, pots, boxes, not sure how we're going to call this. Later on I put this lid in. I had in mind different lid, but never got around to finish it, and it had a recess in. Now to me, at this my point of view at this time, it looks unfinished. That's the word I'm looking for. Now on some things like big platters and stuff like that, plates even, if you don't have a big jaws, you expand it in a recess, but as I show you in the next few videos, one of the next videos where I'll make a dinner plate, you can make that recess look good, where here usually people even go deeper. Now this is around 4 mil deep. Usually people go like 6 mil, thinking that it will give them more strength. It won't. It's not how that works. And like I said, I use recess on the plates, platters, but usually when I expand the jaws, I try to make it as decorative or as not noticeable as I can. So, and some argument is that you can take it off finished. from the recess, but you can also make a foot on a bowl and still have it finished and take it off the chuck. So there's 2 points for that. Let's make a recess first. Now the best possible grip you have on with your chuck is when you have your jaws in full circle. So that applies for tenon or expanding into recess. Now that doesn't mean that you don't use these in open up mode or even all the way closed down. Like I said, on this chuck, I expand it all the way up and grip larger balls and use it as well as the full circle. So you just get a little bit more better grip with the full circle, like jaws. But it's not extremely bigger difference. I wouldn't like do only full circle tenons. Right circle tenons for jaws. So that's like limiting your chuck to only one task, and that's to me just not the point of this. Now I can expand, let's say, I can use on this chuck or the other one, I can use these inner jaws, I can use this part of the jaws, I can use this as well. So if you know what you're doing and how to approach this and how this works, you can use all of this and adapt to wherever you are working. So like for instance here as well, I can grip, you can see something tiny here. It won't be the best grip in the world, but it will help get the job done, as well as expanding obviously or contracting here. So you just have to learn to use the full potential of your chucks. So for this occasion we're going to make this size of recess, and you measure it first. So with the calipers, just spread these out a little bit more. So okay, so that will be okay. And I usually put like 2 to 3 mil maximum depth of that recess. Now firstly I'll just screw up this. Okay, and now we mark the diameter that we need. What I will do is now I'm going to flip the rotation backwards because there is a tripod in my way. So usually I would do it like so. So I put this slightly below this plane and just now lightly go up to that line. A little bit more. At the end of the cut, go close the gouge. And now just to make a dovetail shape, just use a skew. Okay. Now that recess is now clean. As you'll see, it's slightly domed, so it's nice and clean, and I can expand the jaws, and this is not very deep, but it will be sufficient enough to hold. Other approach when I'm making boxes or stuff like that as well, what I like to do is use the scraper, and with the scraper you bring the tool rest up, especially if the recess is bigger, like on the platters or the plate. Then I rock it back and forth like so. Now I can shape this as well. To make sort of decoration. And again, I usually use the skew just to undercut it. To sort of dovetail shape. It doesn't have to be exact shape of your jaws. It's not that crucial. Okay, and that is not very deep, and you have a sort of decoration, and now you can play around. Now I'll just flatten this, and I'll show you how I cut the tenons. Now let's say I need a little bit bigger tenon than this, so somewhere around here. And I use a spindle gouge. I drop the handle and then raise the handle to pivot the edge into the wood. So now this is straight side for this. And we can see how the tenon is cut cleanly. Now usually what puts off people from doing tenons is that you can dig into the wood, and as you dig in you slightly alter the diameter or make it slightly out of true. But I would never substitute like putting a recess over a tenon. Now I can make a bigger tenon for a bigger chuck. Just grab a spindle gouge here. Now people often are like you have to have a perfect negative from your jaws, and that is not true. You can have a straight side tenon on a dovetail It's running nice and true. Or you can undercut it. Now you can use a skew or a scraper, whatever you like. I like to use a spindle gouge, and the angle of it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be pinpoint on it. So I just put slight dovetail. And like I said, I never had a ball come off or break off the tenon. Again, nice and true. That's easily done with the dovetail jaws, where with these beaks they can crush the fibers more, and you get slightly out of round. So I would highly recommend dovetail jaws all the time. Okay, so highly advise you to try out, persevere in cutting the tenons instead of recess on a bolt. Particularly, do not cut recess on an end grain. That's really bad news. You can really split it like an axe, which I showed you in the first beginner series video. So if you're making recess, make it on a side grain, but I would highly advise you to try out, persevere in tenons, because they are much more versatile. You can get a lot better grip than expanding into something. So now you know a little bit more about what to look for in a chuck. I would highly recommend to stay off the Chinese reproduction of chucks. Just go with the known brands like Easywood tool, not Easywood, or it is Easywood tool. It has interchangeable jaws on a click. That's a good chuck. One way wick mark is excellent. Like I said, best chuck you can buy. One way, Nova, Record Power, all of these chucks are excellent. They have their, let's say, downsides, but they are minor. And like I said, if you grab one of these, I only had when I started only this set, but only with the smaller SC3 90mm chuck, and I did almost everything with it for a few months, and then bought myself a wick mark. And once I tried this on, it's just another league. So hopefully you get a little bit more known on chucks, and we'll see you in the next chapter.